Hey guys, welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today I'm going to be recapping all the games from NFL Week 1. And I do want to say it right off the bat, my voice is pretty fucked up. Did a lot of screaming during that Steelers game, so I do apologize for that. That's why there were no videos yesterday. I literally could not talk yesterday. So do apologize for that, but I'm going to get through this slate of games here. I already put out a short talking about last night's Monday Night Football game. I'll talk a little about that in depth in this one, but I want to spend a couple minutes on each of these games. I'm obviously going to go over my predictions. We'll talk about how I did for my picks of the week. Overall, just a fantastic start to the season. I mean, Week 1 was a smashing success. We had upsets. We had all the stars out. I mean, it was an incredible way to kick off the year. I'm so happy we're back doing this. So, obviously, Thursday night, we started the season with the Ravens at the Chiefs, and we already did a couple videos about that, so I won't spend too much time on this, but I did pick the Chiefs, and like I said, my reasoning for picking the Chiefs, it's just kind of silly to ever pick against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in any given football game with the current construction of this roster, and the Chiefs' offense in that one game against Baltimore looked way better than it did at any point last year, and they won the Super Bowl, and I could very easily see the Chiefs three-peating again. I know it's never been done in the history of the NFL, but when you look at how good their offense was in that game against, I know Baltimore lost some guys. They lost their defensive coordinator. They lost Patrick Queen, guys like that. But Baltimore still has a really good defense, and the Chiefs were just carving them up the entire game. And their receiver core, this is as good as their receiver core has been since they lost Tyreek Hill, with Rashee Rice really emerging as a number one option. Xavier Worthy, the speedster, unlocks a component of this offense that they haven't had since Tyreek left. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. They're going to get Hollywood Brown back, a dependable veteran. Travis Kelce was very quiet in this game, but we know he can turn it on at any given point. He did it last year. So, yeah, and Lamar definitely came up short in this game. I know a lot of people were praising Lamar because, he extended a lot of plays with his playmaking, getting out of the pocket, running for first downs. I give him credit for that. But at the end of the game, basically unacceptable what happened from Lamar Jackson to be on the 10-yard line, and he had 3 chances to win that game as the reigning MVP. It's unacceptable how Lamar performed at the very end of that game with his inaccuracy. The first one he had Likely wide open, going towards the left side of the end zone. He throws it 10 feet over the guy's head, almost gets him injured. The second one, he had Zay Flowers wide open in the back of the end zone and completely misses him wide left. And then, of course, the final one, not Lamar's fault. It's likely he missed it by a toe, but he had 3 shots to win the game, or at least, tie the game. And I think Harbaugh, he showed he was going to go for 2. They probably would have gotten that, I'm pretty sure. I'm confident. You just give the ball to Derrick Henry and let him wrecking ball force his way into the end zone. They probably would have won that game. So pretty disappointing for Lamar how he ended off that game. Had a pretty up and down game overall. But, yeah, the Chiefs, not a surprise they won. I picked them, so that's, a first win for me to start off the season. So Friday night we had that Brazil game, another game we made a couple videos about with the Packers and the Eagles. I did pick the Eagles in this one, and they did win this one because of Saquon Barkley. Even though Jalen Hurts was reckless in this game, Jalen Hurts did not play a good football game. But the Eagles were carried by Saquon Barkley, and it's kind of interesting because I do see some similarities between these two teams with Green Bay and Philadelphia. I think they both have very high-powered offenses, but both have questionable defenses. That was kind of the story of this game. It was high scoring. It was back and forth the entire game. The defenses had a couple standout players here and there, like for Green Bay. Jaire Alexander had a pretty good game. He had a good interception. For the Eagles, that Baum guy, that linebacker, he was flying around making tackles, and the rookie Quinyon Mitchell looked really good. But this was an offensive game. This was a back-and-forth type deal. Jalen Hurts was very sloppy. He had really no connection with the new center, Juergens, which led to some big fumbles, a couple of plays where the handoff was just not executed cleanly, and it was kind of a mess. So that's kind of my storyline, or my thing with the Eagles going forward is are they going to be able to get that connection between Jalen and Juergens under control? But Saquon carried them in this one, and looking at the Eagles side of things, that's scary because even with Jalen having a bad game, they still beat a good Packers team. So just imagine if Jalen gets right for the next couple of games, they are going to be dangerous. They're going to be a lethal offense. And for Green Bay, Jordan Love, we now know, is officially out for the next 3 to 6 weeks. Sucks to see. It really does, because this game was over. The game was already decided by then. They were just trying to, do the typical Hail Mary stuff at the end of the game. But it sucks to see because the game was over. Glass half full is at least he's not out for the whole season or like a very long time. But glass empty, glass half empty is, who's your backup quarterback? Malik Willis? Yikes. That's going to be rough for the Packers the next couple weeks. But Jordan Love, I know that the box score, the box stat, whatever you want to call it, didn't really reflect this well. I thought he played good. His efficiency was bad. He had 50% efficiency in this game, but he was making big throws. For me, overall, Jordan Love was pretty good in this game, even though, like I said, the efficiency wasn't great. But I think he played better in this game than Jalen Hurts did. Now we can move on to the Sunday slate of games. Obviously, a ton of them. I'm going to try to really get through these quickly. The Steelers at Falcons. The game, why my voice is so fucked up, is because of this game. I did a lot of screaming. The refs were, again, I'm never like a big blame the refs guy, but I feel like they were pretty bad in this game, even though the Steelers did pull it out. They had a couple of terrible calls in this one, like one on Pickens, and then they had a couple of terrible ones on TJ Watt, I felt like. But the Steelers were able to pull this out. They didn't even score a touchdown, and yet they were able to win this game 18-10. And Justin Fields, it went all the way up until the final moment of the game starting, where we didn't know if Russ was playing or Fields was playing. They were leaning Fields, but they were showing Russ warming up. They were saying he could potentially play. But then we find out when the game starts, Justin Fields is the quarterback, and I thought he looked fine. Obviously he didn't have a touchdown. He didn't light it up. He wasn't fucking Joe Montana out there, but he looked pretty good, in my opinion. Whenever you compare that to what we had last year, there is some versatility to his game because of the running effect. And he was making plays in this game with his legs. And he had a couple pretty impressive throws, particularly to George Pickens. So I'm really, really interested, as a Steelers fan, to see what the decision is going forward. If Russell Wilson is healthy next week, are they going to start him? I don't think you can after that game against Atlanta, because Justin Fields was, again, he wasn't a lead or anything, but he wasn't bad. He was better than what I thought he would be. So that's something going forward. Do we have something in Justin Fields? Maybe. I mean, he did make some bad plays. I'm not trying to act like he was perfect, but very interesting from Fields. And you got to give Chris Boswell a lot of credit. The most underrated kicker in the NFL won us this game. And Atlanta, that offense looked rough. Now, is that a product of they were overrated going into this year, or is that a product of the Steelers' defense is just that good? I think maybe a little bit of both. Kirk Cousins looked off in this game. He was rattled basically the whole game, and they're supposed to have a great offensive line. Well, the Steelers were wrecking that the whole time. So the Steelers, I think they're on a path to potentially having a top 5, top 3 defense, because that defense was elite against the Atlanta Falcons, who a lot of people, myself included, thought would be a juggernaut offense going into this year. Next up, we have the Vikings and the Giants. So I did pick Minnesota to win this one for the very simple reason that the Giants are throwing Daniel Jones out there at the quarterback position. And anytime that's going to happen, you're probably going to lose the game. And that's exactly what happened. Daniel Jones was a fucking disgrace in this game. He threw a pick 6. He had fans waiting outside after the game to heckle him because he's terrible. And I maintain this. He's on the worst contract in the NFL. It's not even really close. And the Giants, similar to what we kind of said about the Jets, both the New York teams, a lot of people were saying like their defenses were going to look sweet this year. With the Giants, like everyone knew the offense was going to struggle, but their silver lining, it felt like a lot of people were saying, oh, well, their defense is going to be sweet. They got carved up by Sam Darnold. So that silver lining I thought the Giants might have, they made Sam Darnold look like an MVP candidate right there. I mean, they got eaten alive by Sam Darnold. I mean, It's just a mess. I really do believe the Giants are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and especially with New England winning today, maybe they're more scrappy than I thought. The Giants could potentially be picking number 1 overall next year. I mean, that's how bad it looks right now. So I'm now 4-0 in my picks as of right now. Jags at Dolphins. I did pick the Dolphins to win this one. They pulled it out in a close win. Tua threw for over 300 yards, was really good in this game. Of course, Tyreek Hill had that monster 80-yard touchdown. And there was all that drama about, him getting arrested before the game. The Dolphins, this is exactly what I thought they would be. I'm interested to see, though, with Miami because they played Buffalo next week. That is such a massive test for the Dolphins because a big criticism for Miami and Tua in general is they can't win big games. Well, they got a massive game coming up Thursday. I can't wait for that one, but they get a good win here against Jacksonville, winning 20-17. So that puts me at 5-0 with my picks right now. Here's my first loss of the week for my picks. I think a lot of people got screwed over by this game, and that is the Patriots at Bengals. The Patriots win 16-10. This is unexcusable. I think this is the most embarrassing loss of the week. There were a couple embarrassing losses. I think this takes the cake for Cincinnati. I mean, this is unacceptable. And I know the Bengals, they have a thing of losing in week 1, but it's the fucking Patriots. I've made countless videos shitting on the Patriots this offseason. And it's not like Jacoby Brissett went out there and just had one of those games. He had 120 passing yards, and you still lost to the Patriots. It's absolutely unacceptable. And I just think the Bengals, they kind of missed their mark. They had a couple years there with a pretty good roster, a good defense. It's not the same team. And you could say I'm overreacting, but they lost to the Patriots. I mean, this is unexcusable. So that's definitely, I think, one of the biggest storylines coming out of week 1 is, are the Bengals fucked? And we talked about this last year. After week 1, they got pummeled by the Browns week 1 last year. And they were one of the biggest stories the beginning of last year is, are the Bengals good? Are they bad? They started to turn things around. They beat the 49ers last year. Then Burrow gets hurt. We don't know. Is that going to happen this year? It's possible. But like I said, unexcusable to lose to the New England Patriots. Not a good case for Jamar either, who's trying to get a monster contract and just completely shit his pants in this game. So now we move on to Cardinals at Bills. So this is another loss for me because, I was trying to pick my upset of the week, and I decided on Arizona for a multitude of reasons. I thought Buffalo, it was going to take time because they don't really have that established receiving threat like they have in years prior. They lost a lot of key guys on their defense. That didn't really matter. And this is why I still picked the Bills to win their division, even though they did downgrade their rosters, because Josh Allen is Superman, and that's what he was in this game, beating the Cardinals in a close one. I mean, 34-28. I think the spread was 6.5, so if you took Arizona's spread, they still did cover this one. Bills, fascinating. The Bills are going to be one of the most fascinating teams this entire year because it's all on Josh. And I think a good bet coming out of week 1 is Josh Allen MVP because he looked like that in this game. Next one was Texans at Colts. So I had Texans in this one. The Texans won 29-27. That puts us at 6-2 for my picks. This was a really good win for Houston to pull this out over in Indianapolis. I thought Anthony Richardson looked really good in this game as well. He showed you all the signs you want to see for an up-and-coming star. Obviously, that one throw he had, I think, to it was number 14. I can't remember his name right now, but I wish it would have been Pittman. If that throw would have been to Pittman, I would have won my fantasy this week, but it wasn't to Pittman. But yeah, that throw was sensational. That 60-yard touchdown throw Richardson had. But overall, Houston, they're really impressive. They proved in this game why they have all this hype going in this year is because they're just loaded. And that was on full display in this game. C.J. Stroud, incredible. The receiving core, even the defense, the playmakers on Houston's defense, they're special. They got some ballers there. So Houston, yeah, they pick up a good win here. Next was one of the weirder games, Titans at Bears. So I did pick the Bears in this one, but if you would have told me that the Bears, Caleb was only going to throw for 93 passing yards, yet the Bears, we're still going to win in this one. what the hell happened? I mean, I guess I was wrong about Will Levis because I was saying if I had to bet on it going to this year, he's probably going to work out because they put a lot around him. They brought in Ridley. They have D-Hop. They have Boyd. They have a good running back tandem. They invested in their O-line. They gave a lot for Will Levis. They put a lot around Will Levis for him to work out in the NFL. And based off that game, it don't look like he's going to work out. Will Levis was really, really bad in this game. And even with Caleb Williams not having a good game, the Bears were still able to win this because, well, Will Levis was that bad. So, again, going back to my picks, I'm now 7-2. Next, we have the Panthers at Saints. So the Saints absolutely crushed the Panthers, and the Saints were one of those teams I had right on the borderline. And a point I always came back to was they were a 9-win team last year, but their offense sucked. So now they bring in an actual good offensive coordinator from the Kyle Shanahan tree and QBX kid. You bring him in, they're basically going to be running the 49ers offense, which is as quarterback friendly as an offensive scheme gets. And look what happens. I know it was against the Panthers, but the Saints offense, if this is the level of play we're getting from the Saints offense, they're probably going to win this division. With Atlanta disappointing, the Saints might be, the big surprise team. I forget what their over-under was for wins, but their offense looked really good in this one. It was against Carolina, so I'm not going to say they're for sure a playoff team, but wow, I mean, what a way to make a statement with your new offensive coordinator. And Carolina is just... wow, they're a mess. They are an absolute mess. And I said it was hard to envision a season going as bad as last year. It might be as bad as last year, if not worse. I mean, what a mess. They lost arguably their best player, Derek Brown, to injury. Bryce Young, yet again, just not looking good at all. And yeah, hey, Deontay Johnson, how are you liking it there playing with Bryce Young? But yeah, so I'm now 8-2 in my picks after that one. Next, we had Raiders at Chargers. The Chargers did win this one 22-10. I did have the Chargers in this one. That puts me at 9-2. Not much to say about this one. I mean, I don't get how you could have picked the Raiders to be a competent team this year whenever you look at that quarterback play, when you look at the coaching mismatches that are just in the division alone. Antonio Pierce is a good guy. Great motivator, but from a scheme perspective, you're going to be at such an astronomical disadvantage in every divisional game you play. Just say it out loud. Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton are in this division, and you're rolling out there with Antonio Pierce. That is just, it's comical, but that's what the Las Vegas Raiders are. They are comical, and I wouldn't be surprised if Davante Adams, either publicly or behind closed doors, requests a trade, because how much longer can he deal with this shit? I would not be surprised if he's wearing green in a couple of weeks, if you know what I mean. Not a real surprise that they lost this game. They're just not very good. Even though they have some really good players, not a good team. Next up, we had Broncos at Seahawks. So everyone wanted to talk about how great Bo Nix was in the preseason, how he was going to light it up. Yeah, I mean, I had some people picking the Broncos to be a playoff team. That's a fucking joke. Bo Nix, welcome to the NFL. That's what Bo Nix is. And I try to tell everyone that. No one really wanted to listen. Everyone was buying that preseason hype of Bo Nix. Well, there you go. Seahawks looked really good in this one. Geno had a really good game. Seattle wins 26-20. That puts my record at 10-2 for the week. Here's another loss, though, for me, because I picked the Commanders to beat the Bucs. Baker Mayfield had a day. Baker Mayfield was incredible in this game. He had 3 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels looked pretty bad in this game as well. Just not a great debut for the rookie quarterbacks in general. I mean, there was a thing I saw on Instagram. The biggest winner of the rookie quarterbacks was Michael Penix Jr. because he didn't play. His team lost. Kirk didn't look good. So, Penix might be happy. The rest of them do not. They're not happy because they did not have good performances. Jane Daniels, certainly one of those guys, just was not good against Tampa whatsoever. Showed that athleticism a little bit, but as a passer, really, really struggled in this game. Next, we have another one of my big losses. I picked the Browns to beat the Cowboys. What a mistake that was. So Dallas, I'm going to make a separate video about Dallas because, I've been, the team by far I've been most critical of is the Cowboys. And I still stand true to the fact that they are fool's gold. They're never going to win a playoff game again in the Dak era, in my opinion, because they can't beat, the the elite teams. But this kind of goes into a bigger narrative of what I said about Cleveland, is they're not very good. If you saw me rank every NFL team, I had Cleveland at like 22. I don't think Cleveland's very good because of Deshaun. That was on full effect, full display in this game. Deshaun Watson sucks. I feel completely validated in that because I just don't think, seeing after what he did in this game against Dallas, I don't see how you can realistically make an argument that Deshaun is even like a decent quarterback. He flat out sucks. That is the reality of Deshaun Watson. So I'm kind of mad at myself that I talked myself into the Browns winning this one because I should have known better. Even though for all the flaws I have with the Cowboys, Dak is better than Deshaun. That's clearly, I mean, Dak is on another planet compared to Deshaun Watson. Deshaun is terrible. The Browns really shot themselves in the foot because you just swapped Baker out for Deshaun. Now, I don't know if Baker would be what he's gone on to become in Tampa, because I really do think Baker becoming like a journeyman and hopping around from team to team there really did humble Baker, and it made him kind of grow up, and that's why he's a lot more mature now. So if he would have just stayed in Cleveland, I don't know if we would have this version of Baker, but just in a vacuum, you swap them out. If you put the current version we have of Baker on this Browns team, they're easily a 12-win team because they have the talent. But the guy at the most important position on this team is so bad that they're fucked. They really are. I don't know how they're a playoff team. And, they really, really should have held on to Joe Flacco because, wow, that guy sucks. So that puts my picks at 10-4. Sunday night, we had the big matchup of the Rams versus the Lions. Did go into overtime, but the Lions did pull it out 26-20. And how about Jameson Williams? I mean, I feel like I've been waiting to see Jameson have a game like that for so long. I knew he always had it in him, and wow, he was a monster in this game. He was the best receiver by far for Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown was nowhere in this game, but Jameson had a hell of a game. Goff played pretty good. Stafford, even though the team lost, Stafford played almost flawless football in this game. He was brilliant, but Detroit, I just think overall has the better roster. They were able to pull it out in overtime. That puts my picks at 11-4. Then, of course, we have the Monday night game from last night where the 49ers curb stomped the New York Jets 32-19. I don't think that score quite paints the whole picture of how destructively bad the Jets were in this game. The Jets, I just think everyone really overlooked the flaws of the Jets, and that's exactly what I said in my short video I did earlier. My reaction to this game is I was always critical of the Jets for basically everything that went wrong for them in this game, and I had all these Jets fans bitching at me like, oh, well, we don't need Aaron to be the MVP. We just need him to be, decent, and we'll be a good team. Well, that's kind of what happened last night. He wasn't very good. He wasn't terrible. He was decent, and your team got fucking punched in the throat by the 49ers. That was a pathetic performance from the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers is clearly not the guy he once was. He can't move. He has zero mobility. I tried to tell you guys that. You didn't want to listen, and that's exactly what happened to Aaron. He's a one-dimensional 40-year-old quarterback. Good thrower. He's always going to be a good thrower. But what made him special was that mobility, getting out of the pocket and playmaking. He can't do that anymore. So when you play these good teams, you're going to get crushed because he's just too limited. And the offensive personnel is too limited. That's another big problem I had with this team that people were overlooking. Outside of Garrett Wilson, there's really not a lot in terms of receiver depth. Mike Williams, his injuries have always been a problem. He barely played in this game. Allen Lazard, he got that lucky free play catch, but outside of that was dog shit in this game. Allen Lazard cannot catch. He cannot catch the ball. Breece Hall, basically is going to have to carry this offense for them to be legit. And the big silver lining, or the big thing people are always pointing to with the Jets is, their defense is awesome. They could potentially have the best defense in the NFL. Their defense got eviscerated by the 49ers, particularly in the run game. A backup running back in Jordan Mason completely exposed to your world caliber defense there. That is absolutely unacceptable to get crushed by the Niners without Christian McCaffrey. And as for the Brock Purdy detractors, I don't know how you can keep denying this kid. I'm not acting like Purdy is some all-time great, but he just wins games. Guys are out, he wins. He wins tonight, or he wins last night without McCaffrey. He was really good in this game. The Niners, I think they're going to just walk their way into the NFC title game. That's how good they looked. they didn't miss a beat. So that puts my picks at week 1 at 12-4. So a pretty good week. We had some big surprises. Obviously, that Bengals-Patriots one. But overall, did a pretty good job with the picks. Let me know how your guys' picks did. Let me know all your thoughts on my reaction to week 1. And stay tuned for more videos coming out. Thanks for listening.